The Doctrines and Practice of Nichiren Choshu. Sometimes there are notes, and I don't always read the notes. Chapter 1, The Advent of Nichiren Daishonin. In the great collection sutra, Daijuku Sutra, Shakyamuni Buddha expounded on the 3 time periods after his passing. He predicted that the periods of Shoho, Zoho, and then Mappo were coming in chronological sequence. With regard to the age of Mappo, the sutra states, "During the next 500-year period, within my law there shall be battles and disputes, and the pure law will disappear." The sutra indicated that Shakyamuni's Buddhism would lose its effectiveness in the age of Mappo. Its powers and functions would be lost, and as a result, the salvation of people would not be possible through the practice of his Buddhism. At the same time, Shakyamuni predicted in the, quote, Bodhisattva Medicine King Yakuro 23rd and the, quote, Mystic Powers, unquote, Jinriki 21st chapters of the Lotus Sutra, that the true Buddha would make his advent at the beginning of Mappo. The true Buddhism for that time would be expounded to the people, so they could practice it instead of the teachings of Shakyamuni. In the, quote, Bodhisattva Medicine King, unquote, Yakuro 23rd chapter, we read, "After my passing, during the last 500-year period, there shall be worldwide propagation." Kaiketsu, page 539. And in the, quote, Mystic Powers, unquote, Jinriki 21st chapter, we read, "Like the rays of the sun and the moon that dispel the darkness of phenomena, this person will practice in the world, dispel the darkness of all humanity, and lead immeasurable numbers of bodhisattvas to finally attain the one vehicle." These 2 sutra passages prophesies that after the decline of Shakyamuni's Buddhism, impurities will be rampant within individual persons as well as throughout society at large. And there will be struggles and frequent natural disasters. In this age of Mappo, a noble bodhisattva will emerge with his own great Buddhism. Just like the rays of the sun, he will dispel the people's darkness and lead the entire universe to the manifestation of the Buddha's land. In reality, when the age of Mappo began throughout the world, there were rises and falls of nations as had never been seen before in the history of mankind. In Japan, internal battles such as the Jokyo disturbance were rampant, and a series of unprecedented natural disasters frequently occurred, such as extraordinary weather and earthquakes. Indeed, the age matched the predictions in the sutra that, quote, "There shall be battles and disputes," unquote, and, quote, "The pure law shall disappear," unquote. At this time, Nichiren Daishonin was born in the fishing village of Kominatu, province of Awa, present-day southern part of Chibu Prefecture, on February 16th in the first year of Jo-o, 1222. His childhood name was Zenchimaro. His father's name was Mikuni no Taifu no Kinijiro Shigetada, and his mother's name was Umigeku. They engaged in fishing for their livelihood. The Daishonin discussed his own birth in his writings as follows. "I was born to a family of fishermen in Kataumi Tojo village, Nagasa district, province of Awa." Gosho, page 1279. Question and answers on the object of worship. "I am the child of a Chandala family living near the sea." Gosho, page 482. "I, Nichiren, was born in a province called Awa in the country of Japan. I left a common family, was tonsured, and donned the priest's robes." Gosho, page 1257-258. Reply to lay nun, Myoho. Nichiren is neither a resident of the Nichiren is neither a resident of the central capital nor the son of a general in the rural area. Rather, I was born in a remote province to a common family. Gosho, page 1431. Letter to the lay priest, Nakao-ki. Shakyamuni was born in India to a royal family as the prince of King Shuddhodana. In contrast, the Daishonin was born to a, quote, a fisherman's family, unquote, or, quote, a common family, unquote. The Daishonin's humble origin has three profound and significant points in Buddhism. The first point refers to what the Daishonin underwent to fulfill the predictions about the practice of the foremost votary of the Lotus Sutra in the world. In the, quote, fortitude, unquote, kanji 13th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, we find these passages. Quote, curse and speak ill of us, unquote. Quote, attack with swords and staves, unquote. Quote, again and again we shall be banished, unquote. If the Daishonin had been born to a royal family, noble or shogun family, he could not have fulfilled the prophecies of the Lotus Sutra. In other words, had this been the case, it would have been impossible for him to overcome the prosecutions and to reveal himself as the votary of the Lotus Sutra. The second point is based on the Daishonin's great mercy for the people in Mappo. The people in the age of Mappo do not have any past relationship with Shakyamuni. Therefore, the Daishonin, as the true Buddha of the Soin, made his advent as a common person in this world, so we could receive the benefit of the relationship we have with him as the true Buddha, who sows in our lives the seed of the true cause or original enlightenment. We can thus correctly form a relationship with the true Buddha's three virtues of sovereign, teacher, and parent. The third point is the revelation of the mystic function and the merit of the great law of Myoho Renge Kyo. The Daishonin said, the truer the teaching, the lower the capacity, Gosho, page 1112. On the 4 stages of faith and the 5 stages of practice. Since the law is supreme, the person is worthy of respect. Since the person is worthy of respect, the place is sacred. Gosho, page 1569. These passages suggest the Daishonin manifested the principle of, quote, the true Buddha is a common mortal, unquote. He was born in a low and humble social status so that he could lead all the people in the defiled age of Mappo, who possess low facilities and low capacities, and whose lives are tainted with the 3 poisons of greed, anger, and stupidity. Thus, the Daishonin actually manifested the great benefits of showing that, quote, a common mortal is equal to the Buddha, unquote, and, quote, earthly desires are enlightenment, unquote. This is the third reason why the Daishonin was born as a child to ordinary parents. Having taken these factors into consideration, the Daishonin stated, I, Nichiren, humble person though I am, have received Shakyamuni Buddha's royal command and have come to this country of Japan. Gosho, page 620. If I, Nichiren, had not appeared in this country of Japan, the golden words of the Buddha would have been in vain, and the proof demonstrated by Tahoe Buddha would have been worthless. Were it not for me, Nichiren, the words of the Buddha would have been meaningless. Gosho, page 904. And in, quote, 106 comparisons, unquote, the Daishonin stated, My true identity is the Buddha of intrinsically perfect wisdom. My provisional identity is the reincarnation of Bodhisattva Jogyo. Nichiren, the present great master of the essential teaching. Kosho, page 1685. This reveals that Bodhisattva Jogyo is still his provisional identity. The true, ultimate identity is the Buddha of intrinsically perfect wisdom, who has existed from the very beginning of the remotest past. Nichi, the first part of the Daishonin's name, means, quote, sun, unquote, in Japanese, as is foretold in the, quote, Mystic Powers, unquote, Jinriki 21st chapter of the Lotus Sutra, quote, the ray of the sun and the moon, unquote. Ren, the latter part of the Daishonin's name, means, quote, lotus, unquote, in Japanese. In the, quote, emerging from the earth, Yujutsu, 15th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, we read, like the pure lotus flower in the muddy water, not muddled by the law of secular affairs. Kaiketsu, page 492. Thus, quote, Nichiren, unquote, means the pure Buddha and his great law of Myoho Renge Kyo, undefiled by muddy water and earthly desires. Therefore, the Daishonin stated in, quote, reply to the wife of Shijo Kingyo, unquote, can anything exceed the sun and moon in brightness? Can anything excel over the lotus flower in purity? The Lotus Sutra is the sun and moon, and is the lotus flower as well. That is why the sutra named Myoho Renge Kyo. That is why the sutra is named Myoho Renge Kyo. Nichiren is also like the sun and moon, like the lotus flower as well. Kosho, page 464. The name, quote, Nichiren, unquote, signifies that he was self-awakened. It is the Daishonin's declaration that he himself is the illumination of the sun and moon to brighten the darkness of the 1,000 years of Mappo. He propagates the great law of Myoho Renge Kyo as the true Buddha of sowing. The Daishonin alone is the Buddha to be respected by the people in Mappo. The Buddhism of the Daishonin is none other than the sun that brightens the darkness of the age of Mappo. Surprisingly enough, Shakyamuni in India passed away on February 15th, and the Daishonin was born on February 16th. The calendar date following the previous Buddha's death was the day of the advent of the true Buddha in the present time of Mappo. This fact suggests to us the mystic aspect, myo, of the rise and fall of Buddhism. The birth of Nichiren Daishonin signifies the advent of the true Buddha of the, quote, eternal past, which is equal to the age of Mappo, unquote, and the, quote, the Buddha of intrinsically perfect wisdom from the time of the eternal past, unquote, in this age of Mappo. The birth date of Nichiren Daishonin, February 16, 1222, was truly the most significant day. Neither Shakyamuni, Tentai, nor Dengyo could previously reveal the greatest Buddhism in the entire world. The Daishonin's mission originated at the time of his birth as a human being. We should well understand the significance of the advent of Nichiren Daishonin deep in our hearts and appreciate the great debt of gratitude we owe to him. Let us make further efforts to propagate the true Buddhism of Myoho at this time. The Otanjo-e ceremony celebrating the birth of Nichiren Daishonin, is held annually at the head temple Tai-Sekaji on February 16th. On that day, the high priest himself first leads the recitation of the sutra and the invocation of the Daimoku at the Miyado Temple, Image Hall. Then the high priest proceeds to the 5-storied pagoda, which, unlike other pagodas, was constructed facing west. There, he again leads the recitation of the sutra and the invocation of the Daimoku. Then the high priest delivers a sermon to the assembled priests and lay believers. The ceremony at the 5-storied pagoda signifies that Shakyamuni's Buddhism gradually spread eastward from India through Japan. While the Buddhism of the Daishonin emerged in Japan and will spread westward as the sun rises in the east and gradually brightens the west. Finally, the Buddhism of the Daishonin shall spread all over the world in the present day of Mappo. The benefit or the illumination of the Daishonin's Buddhism shall affect even the faraway reaches of the entire universe.